Here's another tricky little multiple choice question on interpreting p-value. Here we have a p-value. Now, since this significance level is represented in terms of a percentage, I'm going to write this as a percentage. So if we multiply this p-value by 100, we move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and we get 1.3%. So a p-value of 1.3% is less than or equal to a significance level of 5%. So if you look at the rule here, this rule tells us that the appropriate decision is to reject the null hypothesis. Now, let's look at this really carefully. The definition of a type 1 error is rejecting the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is true. So a type 1 error is possible at the 5% significance level, but so is a correct decision. I mean, imagine how silly it would be to study the field of statistics, spend money on classes and learn the material if you were guaranteed to make an error. And also, if you were guaranteed to make an error, well, then you could always just do the opposite. So obviously, when you do a statistical analysis, we hope the appropriate decision is correct most of the time. So let's look at this. We see that a type 1 error is possible, but this statement doesn't say is possible. It says is a type 1 error, like it's guaranteed. Here's how we approach this tricky little question. If the human being knows that the null hypothesis is true, then this would be a type 1 error. But the human being does not go into a statistical hypothesis test, knowing which hypothesis is true. Otherwise, the human being wouldn't spend the money. So, if the null hypothesis is true, this proposition is true. But if the alternative hypothesis is true, then this proposition is false. But the human being does not know whether the null hypothesis is true or whether the alternative hypothesis is true. And that means it's not possible, given this information, to determine the truth value of this proposition. And this is what in mathematics we call an indeterminate truth value. But there are no choices with indeterminate truth values. And so this tricky little multiple choice question, the correct choice is E, none of the above.